Hi, all, and welcome to the Peace and Love podcast. Today, I will be talking about a breathwork journey that I went on last night. I wanted to share this journey because it was transformative to say the least, and it was totally heal it yourself style, which is my favorite. We had no outside help from a plant, no psychedelics were used, just using our own technology, we were able to go in and really feel it and heal it. And I just want to share what that looked like, sounded like, and what you can do on your own to have a similar experience of healing. I'm in the closet right now because last episode I thought maybe I could do a little bit better on the audio. So hopefully this one comes out a little better. So I'm coming at you from the closet, and I wanted to give you the rundown right after this happened. I came home from this journey last night and I was tired and I went to bed, and now I'm waking up. And so here I am to share what went on, what this process was about, and what my experience was. So I went with the Vitality is the name of this company. And I'm not sure if I'm butchering the pronunciation of that, but I had never heard of this company before. My dad had just sent me the link, and I'm familiar with the process. And so I was like, yeah, I'll go. But there's a little more context than that. So I'll start at the beginning of the story. So I'm doing a daily meditation, and I am just receiving in a receptive state. And I heard, it wasn't necessarily an audio, but something told me that I am going to have a big shift. And all throughout my life, I've known when I'm going to have a big shift in my life. Even when I was younger, I would get like freaked out because I could feel that something was big was about to change, and I didn't know what, but there was something big coming. And that's what this voice told me. And I said, I'm ready. I'm ready for the responsibility that's going to come with this new whatever it is. And it's going to be scary, but I can take it on. And then I proceeded with my meditation. And then I finished my meditation and went to talk to my dad. And he was like, here, look, this breathwork thing. For context for that, I have been to two of these breathwork type of events. And when I say breathwork, it's not some meditation retreat. It is intense. They are basically breathing patterns just to bring out your repressed emotions. And so the result of that can get pretty messy. So I've been to two of these before, and the first time I went, I was about maybe 15 years old, and I just remember that the actual like worst pain ever that I'd ever felt. And it was painful, and everyone in the room was screaming, and I was scared, and I took myself out of the process and I went to sleep. And it was some good sleep because something about the way this breathing works, it gives you a good rest. But I felt bad because I did take myself out of the process, but also coming from the me now, I'm not sure that that was appropriate for me yet. I'm not sure that I was equipped to handle what would come up. I didn't know anything about emotional clearing back then. And now, I mean, I consider myself like very in touch with my emotions. I'm emotional processing every single day, as I'm sure many of you are familiar with emotional clearing. You know, if you feel an emotion, feel it up. I probably cry more than the average person. I mean, I cry because I'm feeling joyful, and I also allow myself to cry over stupid things and have tantrums because I don't want to resist my, emotions that are coming up. So I'm thinking, well, this is going to be different from when I'm 15. And the other time we did it was over Zoom, and it was a weird situation, and it would not have been conducive with like deep you know, airing your stuff out. So I also took myself out of that process. But, now I'm equipped. I know how to deal with these big, big feelings when they come up. And I would like to finish what I've started. I feel like it's weighing on my consciousness just a little bit at a very, very small amount that I started some things and I didn't finish. I took myself out of the process. So it was super in alignment too. My dad was going out of town, so he couldn't go. My mom didn't want to go. So this is a really good process if you're just going alone because there is that fear of judgment because the result is pretty intense. It was also very in alignment because that was the 30th day of my 30-day grape cleanse. And I'm sure I'll make a whole podcast just on that because I did eat grapes for an entire month. And for those of you who have fasted, you probably know that when you fast, a lot of emotional stuff is getting detoxed as well. So I really felt like this was the perfect end to my detox because it's not just a physical journey, this is a non physical journey as well. Mind you, I've never watched this guy's videos of what, he does. Apparently, there's a bunch of videos online of people screaming at his events, and I get that because I've been to them before and I knew that that was a possibility. But again, I process all the time. I honestly thought I would go and just cry because that's what I do most of the time. I didn't think I would be doing any screaming. And maybe you can tell from my voice that I definitely did partake in some screaming. So, anyhow, we get there, and I'm feeling a little excited. Most people could say that's fear, but we know we can transmute energy. So, I'm saying I felt super excited. And they give you a little workbook, and I'm filling out the workbook. I'm talking to the lady next to me, and she was pretty cool. She actually brought up to me TikTok, and I was like, oh, I post on TikTok every day. And so we kind of started talking about that, and I connected with her. So, no coincidences. I knew that the people there would be interesting. She actually wasn't from Oklahoma, she was just passing through. But the other people there, I was like, wow, I'm so surprised. I've never gone to a seminar in my own city. I was shocked that this guy would even come there. And he even admitted he knew nothing about Oklahoma, hadn't even seen the movie. So we start getting into closer to when the thing is about to start, and I have to go into warrior mode. I'm not often in warrior mode because it's intense mode, but another thing we can talk about here is anchors. So I have a couple anchors to get into this type of mode. And what I mean by anchor is, well, I don't know the dictionary definition, but in my mind, an anchor is something that you either say in an affirmation or do with your body that you do over and over again, and it shifts your state. So by the 10th time, your body knows the deal. When we pump our fist up and jump, I'm getting excited. When I say I'm a warrior and act in spite of fear, this girl's going for it. So I'm like, I'm a warrior. I give everything 100% because I want to make sure I'm not taking myself out of this process. I'm not giving a half-assed, you know, participation. So, and then I say, I'm a warrior. I act in spite of fear. And when I tell you I've said this hundreds of times, so my body knows the drill. There's nothing that you can do to take me out of this process. Start thinking about that. When you're in a tough situation, you're hearing things that you don't want to hear, maybe you're at a seminar, your ego will start trying to take you out. All of a sudden, you have to go to the bathroom. You're feeling really tired. Oh, I need to check the time because such and so might have texted me. The ego they'll play tricks on you trying to take you out. So just be mindful of that. And in those cases, you know, I give everything 100%, I'm here. I'm present. So the event gets to going, and we take a practice run just to practice the type of breaths that will be used. So we start that, we finish that, and by the time we finish that, there is something that happens to some people where their hands will kind of cramp up like a lobster. Like if you put all of your fingers together and then pull them back, it's kind of like that, like a lobster hand. And it's like a contraction. You're not in control of that. And by the time we're finished, that's happening to me. I'm fully contracting and I already want to cry. And we were just in the practice, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, what did I get myself into? Luckily, he brought up the lobster hands and said, if that's happening to you, what are you still holding on to? And I was totally holding on to stuff at that point because we hadn't even started. I didn't want to start to cry. I kind of did let out a few tears, but I knew that there was some stuff to let go of already. And just because it's interesting, he said the right side has to do with unresolved things towards men. So if you're, experiencing things on the right side, think about some men in your life and, just let that unfold. And then left side is unresolved towards women. And a lot of it ended up happening on my left side. And a lot of my process, I was honestly like crying out for my mom because I felt alone, like a baby. Like it wasn't me currently, but on some level, there was an aspect of myself that was like an actual baby crying for mama. So let's get into actually what happened in the process. So the process starts and it's pretty intense. I remember it being one of the most challenging things. So I'm waiting for it to get super challenging and I'm like, bring it on. So we get going and I'm already crying and I didn't think I would be one to scream, but at some point I did scream and I was one of the first people to go. I'm not gonna lie. And I didn't even know some of these emotions were within me. Like I said, I'm always processing. But at the level that we were able to go there. So some real rage came up. Like I was hitting the ground and I mean I screamed some screams that were not a regular scream, like screams that take away your voice and something you would hear if you're getting chased by a murderer. So obviously I did not know that that was in there. And I went pretty hard from the start. They were saying, the better you do in the warm up, the easier the whole thing's going to be. And I know that that's true. So I went hard and I released hard. And by the time everyone else was really screaming, I was laughing. Everything was comical. During these parts of like rage, it wasn't like I was remembering anything like some other people say, but I was totally tapped into a super super low energy pocket. Like deep within myself, there were these pockets of just like rage, hate, things that I don't normally experience. And on the flip side of that, we had totally shifted our consciousness through the breath. And it started to get cosmically hilarious. And what I mean by that was I was just experiencing things at a different state of consciousness. And it was pretty funny. It was like I showed up to this event to role play being a student, to role play with myself being teacher, to process with a bunch of different aspects of myself who think that they're separate from me. And I just felt this overwhelming sense of oneness. Like I literally was everyone in the room, like just I am, period. And it was just hilarious and it was it was funny and I was just in this completely like different state that most of the time I'm not in. But just like an onion, there definitely was layers. I had to just keep peeling back the layers. And one of the things that I intended to do was just surrender. Let go of what other people think, what I think of other people, let go of using other people to judge myself and just allow myself to be authentic and give it my all. And I really did go there. And I want to go even deeper into describing what these states felt like and what I was experiencing. So we entered into a timeless space when we were doing this breath work. And even when it was finished, I thought, wow, that did not even feel like the amount of time we spent in here. To me, it felt like an instant. Clearing out these lower pockets of energy I was harboring was not pretty, and this is probably an overshare, but through the whole thing, we had blankets, yoga mat, and I was coughing up so much like mucus. I was just spitting it on my blanket. I was just spitting it and hoping it would land like in front of me. I was also experiencing some physical symptoms as well. Like I said with the hands, I was able to release some of that, but there was a lot of contractions going on in my body. When I left, I was sore. It felt like I had been working out for hours. I came home and like my head was sore, my jaw, my abdomen, everything was so sore because of the amount of tension that was brought up and processed. I was literally like having contractions. While we were going through these low pockets of energy, I even had an interesting thought. I realized, wow, I am in hell right now. And it wasn't in a negative, oh, I did something bad and I'm in hell right now. I just noticed, oh, wow, this is hell. We were literally tapped that much into a low frequency. And even just the physical experience. I mean, what does that sound like? Everyone in the room was screaming for their lives. It genuinely felt like I was in hell. And that wasn't a painful thought for me. I was just observing the experience, if that makes sense. We were able to move through that and we completely did a shift and were able to generate a field of divine unconditional love. And someone after that shared, we literally touched heaven. And I think we really touched both because whenever we were raising the vibration, you could feel the energy, you could feel the frequency of love, and you could feel everyone else in that field experiencing that as well. So we really were able to step into these places that we're not at every day. And the whole thing was very interesting. We were touching on different dimensions almost, I want to say, because of the extreme nature of these frequencies. And just like there were physical effects of these low pockets of energy, there were definitely physical effects of the high frequency. You could feel your body vibrating. You could hear everyone's laughter and joy. And soon the screams of terror, it was screams of celebration. It wasn't screams, it was just enjoyment, ecstasy, things that you would hear in heaven. It was a celebration. We made it. We're in heaven. Someone even said they remembered who they were. We go around thinking we're this, that, and the third, and then you have an experience of divine love, and you're like, I'm none of that. I'm none of that. That is exactly who I am. This is where I come from. This divine love energy. That's really who we are. Another interesting thing was it gave us a experiential experience of energy. Everyone says we're energy, everything's energy. But until you have that experience, it means completely different things. I mean, you could feel the different frequencies in the room. It was a complete experience of energy. Another thing that this brought up was we are never alone. It's impossible to do. The other weekend, I went on a hiking trip and I was a little excitable about it because I'm about to go on a hiking trip all alone, like mind fear, mind fear, mind fear, like just, monkey brain about it. And I also wanted to get alone. I wanted to be away from people. That's why I went alone. I wanted to be in my own energy. And what was funny when I got there was I realized, oh, I'm talking to and interacting with people on the trail. Like, it's quite literally impossible to even get alone. What even is alone? And no matter where I go for the rest of my life, there's going to be people there. There's going to be people there who want to support and help me. There's going to be angels there that are looking to guide me and keep me safe. There's no such thing as alone. And really, this process brought up deep fears about feeling alone in the universe. I mean, I came to this event alone and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can even make it. I feel alone in this journey of bringing this stuff up. There's no one here basically being an outside version of myself telling me, you can do it, you've got this. No one's holding my hand, walking me through this. It felt sucky. And it brought up that fear of like, I'm alone in the universe and no one really has my back like that, which is a lie, to say the least. And in the middle of the process, wouldn't you know, he says, you are never alone. And he had us reach out and grab our neighbor's hand. I could feel that they were just like rushing to get my hand as much as I was rushing to get their hand. Everyone was just so connectable at this time. And we all were able to be that aspect of ourself that lends a hand. And it's so true. We are never alone. I was literally in a room of, I don't know, 100 people at least going through this process. And we were all probably feeling very similar things. And we're all never alone. We have this guy here who's guiding us through. And if anything were to happen, someone would help us. And I even prayed a lot before we went because also there was a lot of stuff being released and I'm like, I don't I don't want any of that on me. But just to, be present with me and have myself allow to like feel the divinity within myself. And it works. And there's a reason why prayer is ancient and people still do it, you know what I mean? So anyhow, there's no such thing as being alone, and that really anchored that deeply for me. But before we even got a hand from our neighbor, it really gave me a chance to experience divine self-love. A lot of during the process was me processing things that I had done to myself. When I was suicidal, I was self-harming, and he started talking about all of our transgressions that we've had against ourselves. And all of that body memory came back to me. I was holding my arms and I was apologizing to myself profusely. And at some point I screamed, I forgive you. It was just a lot of inner turmoil that I resolved. And the peace after that was a deep peace. And I often say to myself, and I said to myself in that moment, I will never abandon you. Even if it looks like showing up to scream with a bunch of strangers, I'll never abandon you. And having that connection with yourself is insane. I mean, not a lot of people probably allow themselves to feel such support from themselves. And it feels funny doing that because it's like, it's you. But really, the subconscious keeps the score of how many times you have transgressed against yourself. How many people go to the mirror every day and say, you're fat, you're ugly, da 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 da, whatever they may think about themselves. I've said this before in a TikTok. Imagine you've been mean to someone for years, and then you show up one day and you're like, oh, sorry, I know better now. Well, that person's gonna take time to trust and forgive you. It doesn't just work like that. You have to go in on a deep level and go there and ask for forgiveness and gain trust. Once you've done all that, then you open yourself up to really experiencing a divine self love, something that's you literally touching your own soul. You are literally safe now. You know that you have yourself. No matter what, I've got you, bro. That was the main part of it. And just that self acceptance that I just spit up all over myself, and it was the best thing I could have done for myself. I'm so glad that, you were able to show up. And we really ended on a high frequency note, and people were sending out their love each direction. And after we were asked to share, and one of the women there goes, "This is how you change the world." And that was my thoughts exactly. Doing this type of like deep work combined with divine true love, this is what's going to make the difference here. And when we did that, I was like, we don't even know what we just did. We just sent out so much love. The effects of this are so severe that we don't even know what just happened. It's incredible how much we just shifted with that amount of pure divine love that we don't even know the consequences of that. And imagine if people did that in every state. Just a group of people sending out love in every state. A small percentage of the population walking around sending out love. This is what makes the difference. And for the listener at home, if you never get to go to a Watality breathing event or something, you can still access these levels. We do a lot of emotional clearing on a daily basis. This is why we attract certain situations, to bring up these emotions that we've been repressing. This is why some people have such bad driving road rage. Like, they obviously have some anger there. So allow that stuff to come up, even if you go to the grocery store and they don't have grapes, and you go to the car and you scream and cry about it. I have literally done this before, and it lasts like 5 minutes, just like a toddler processes. You need to allow yourself to process. A toddler will cry for a minute and then be laughing and then go on with their day. You can allow yourself to do this even as an adult. A car is the perfect scream box, the perfect cry box if you don't have the space to do this. But just allow yourself to feel your feelings as they come up, because that will make the biggest difference in life. The universe works similar to a TikTok or a Twitter algorithm. You are literally getting a personalized view of exactly what you need to heal, process, and let go of. So you have everything that you need to do something similar on a daily basis. And as people let go of their lower pockets of dense energy, it will be so much easier for us to accept the new state of consciousness that's coming to this planet and really arrive at a high frequency planet and a high frequency life. I see the world being healed through this divine love and similar processes of tapping into that love energy. So, with that being said, peace and love at ya.